chapter 7. The power of commitment. Information, purpose, preparation, ideas, and skills notwithstanding, without commitment, there can never be accomplishment. Another word for commitment in this context is hard work or diligence. In the beginning, God planted a garden where he put the man he had made. Then he said to him, "Keep it and dress it." After that, God said, "As you keep and dress the garden, you are permitted to eat of every tree of the garden, except the one at the center." God first gave man a job before he showed him what to eat. God does not talk about food until he has talked about work. God will never keep or dress the garden. It is man's duty to keep and dress his garden. The garden you don't keep and dress is not permitted to offer food to you. You will never have a developed nation without a productive citizenry. It is the input of individuals within a nation that results in the overall development of the nation. Where I come from, it is said that when you have one rich man in the midst of 6 poor people, what you have are 7 poor people. Take responsibility. There is no political means to developing a nation. Every development rests on the productivity of the nation's citizens. A nation where only 1 million of its 5 million people are working cannot prosper. This number would represent only 20% of that nation's population. God said to Abraham, "I am going to bless you, and you shall be a blessing." But Abraham did not go to sleep with the promise. Instead, he started rearing cattle until he became very rich. No matter the promise of God on your life, if you don't work, it will never come to pass. Abraham's son Isaac was also a tireless worker. He kept on digging the wells of water despite opposition and went ahead, sowed his seed in famine, and became so prosperous that the Philistines envied him. Isaac didn't prosper on the platform of his father's wealth. He prospered through the hard work of his hands. Jacob, Isaac's son, was also a worker. He was a creative worker. He raised stripped cattle by making them mate before poplar trees upon which he had made stripes. Jacob was the first veterinary scientist. He knew what to do to get the exact breed of cattle he desired. Abraham was a hard worker, Isaac a tireless worker, and Jacob a creative worker. If you study the work ethics of South Koreans, you won't be surprised that they came from far behind to become the 13th industrialized nation in the world. They were among the poorest nations in 1948, and then the people suddenly became responsible. We as a people cannot afford to be begging around the world. We have enough, but we lack the required commitment. King Solomon said, "The sluggard desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat." True, your desires are communicated in prayers. Jesus said, "Whatsoever thing ye desire when you pray, believe that you have it and you shall receive it." But the same Bible also say, "A lazy man's desires and has nothing." His prayers alone cannot change his story. There is a time for everything. There is a time to pray and a time to walk. There is a time to even watch Christians television and a time to read your Bible. There is a time for everything. Work is not a curse. It is designed by God as a channel of blessing and for our livelihood. There is dignity in labor. As a job seeker, don't keep waiting for a particular job. Whatever your hands finds to do while looking for what you want, begin to do it with all your might, and what you are looking for will meet you in the process. Idleness is an enemy of destiny. Don't give it room. Have you ever wondered why many givers have not experienced a change of position? It is because God does not throw money down to people from heaven. He only prospers the work of their hands. Therefore, if you are doing nothing, there is no channel through which God can bless you. Benefits of work. Work is God's antidote against all manner of weakness and sickness. The physical body can be likened to a building, and like any unused or unoccupied building, it soon begins to fall apart. As the preacher puts it, through slothfulness a building decays, and through idleness of hand a house drops through. Work is God's device for healthy and strong living. Another benefit of commitment is creativity. You cannot be committed and not be creative. You cannot be creative and not be productive. And you cannot be productive and not be successful. And you cannot be outstandingly successful and not be impactful. When you are committed, you are naturally creative. It is practice that makes perfect. When you are committed, ideas starts flowing to enhance your approach on the job. I don't see work as punishment, but as polishment. I see it as God polishing my life, causing it to shine by the privilege of work. The president of one of the world's largest corporations once said, "You cannot pour yourself into your work and not be successful." Not pouring yourself into your work and expecting success is like attempting to pluck a star out of the sky. You are either a worker or a beggar. It is a clear choice that we need to make. It is time to recover your human dignity of the black man. It is time to rebuild your life. It is time to rebuild our nation. It is time to rebuild the great continent. We cannot rebuild by praying and fasting alone. Neither can we rebuild our lives by only reading the Bible every hour of the day. We can only rebuild it by working it out. Nothing is more impactful than your examples. When you start working, your children will follow suit. Their own children will plug into it as well. And before you know what is happening, you have a responsible lineage. Note Genesis chapter 2 verse 8 to 17, Proverbs chapter 13 verse 11, Genesis chapter 12 verse 2 to 3, Genesis chapter 13 verse 2, Genesis chapter 26 verse 12 to 22, Genesis chapter 30 verse 29 to 43, Proverbs chapter 13 verse 4, Mark chapter 11 verse 24, Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 18. Ponder points. The nature of a tree determines the fruit it bears. Your nature is what makes way for your future. It takes more than strength, grace, or skill to scale through in life. Cultivate the right attitude. Dr. David Oyedepo.